Could this just be the last tail tidy that ever goes onto my Street Twin? That's a good question, and it comes from something that's been rattling around in the back of my head for a little while now, I guess. Admittedly, there hasn't been a lot of Street Twin content on the channel for the last couple of months, and I'll put that down to two reasons. Firstly, it's winter. The weather's been pretty shitty here in the UK, so if I've been going out on a bike, I've been taking the KTM. Secondly, I'm kind of happy with where the Street Twin is. I've made quite a few changes to it, but I guess you reach a point where you say, actually, I'm happy with this. I don't really want to do any more, and because it's my own bike, I don't want it just to become a mule where I'm constantly dismantling it and fitting new third-party parts onto it. I know that helps with the content for the channel, but you kind of reach a point where you kind of go, I like this as it is. As you would have seen, recently I fitted the OEM Triumph tail tidy with a slight amendment. I've been really happy with that. It does exactly what it needs to do, but it does have a flaw, and that's a flaw that can be found in pretty much every other tail tidy that's out there on the marketplace. Anybody with a Street Twin will know that you've got some storage under the seat when you're using the stock curved seat. I had enough room to be able to get my granite disc lock under there. It was tight, but it went in. As soon as I changed to the flat bench seat, that storage space was gone, which became a bit of a problem. I kind of put it out of my mind a little bit because I thought, well, there's nothing out there that offers that storage. I'll just have to find another way around it. Then I was very interested to see the Motone tail tidy come through, which has got a recessed tray in that bottom plate, which acts as storage. This, I think, is potentially a game changer for me, which is why I'm happy to take the Triumph unit off and try the Motone one on. It's got the looks, it's got that nice strip back look, it's got an LED Lucas style tail light. You can put the stock indicators or aftermarket indicators on it, and you've got a nice mount for the number plate. So I thought, let's give it a go. Got one ordered up, it's come through. Let's have a look at what you get in the kit. We'll start with the easiest box to open, which is the tail light. This is the Lucas style LED tail light. And there you can see the under tray. So this is the part that bolts on, forms the under tray for the tail tidy, and you've got that nice little recessed storage area, which you can see already, which is one of the reasons I was really attracted to this setup. The next layer of bubble wrap gets you the number plate holder, another part of that. You've got a couple of blanking plates here, which on first assumption are for switching between the stock indicators and the Motone aftermarket indicators, but we'll come to that as we get through there. You also got all the fixings, and here is that last little piece. One thing I'll say about these though, these parts are made from a single flat piece of metal. They're precision folded, which adds strength, but there's no unsightly welds or anything, which I think is a really nice touch. So this is what's in the kit. Obviously you've got to wire the lights, so Motone also sent me one of their rear wiring harnesses, but of course you could buy one of my wiring harnesses to go with this, which are lovingly handmade here in the UK. Come on, you can't blame a guy for trying. Okay, so let's get on with fitting the tail tidy. I've taken the old one off, and I've made an assumption that you'll know how to do that. If you don't, up in the top corner here I'll put a link to another video that shows you how to remove that tail tidy, and but this is a starting point for us, saves a little bit of time, and it's pretty straightforward. You've got the main under tray, which will just bolt under there onto those existing holes. There is, to bolt onto the back of these, a small flap which acts as a kind of mud guard, just helps stop the spray from coming up underneath. Right, so let's quickly show you how this all goes together, and it's going to be easier to put it together on the bench with the light and everything, as opposed to fitting this to the bike and then putting everything else on. The only exception might be this sort of mud guard, which you'll kind of have to do, but that bolts on to this back section here anyway, so that can be done when these bolts are done up, which is what these are. Now, as you would have noticed when I went through the parts, there were 2 nylock nuts. They're not required for the Street Twin, they are for the T120. So if you're fitting this onto a T120 with the standard seat, you use those 2 nylock nuts as spacers, but not required, so apologies for that. Right, so I've flipped this base unit over so that we can get the light on. Now I've made sure I've got all these the right way round. I can put these together. There we go, and then it's just a case of putting the nuts on the back of here. Now, if you're going to use the original indicators, which I plan to do, you'll find that you will need to extend those cables. You're going to have to cut the original connectors off to make sure that it connects up to the Motone, or indeed my wiring loom for the rear. But the problem with these indicators here is that the cable is not going to be long enough. You haven't got a lot of room. They're only kind of about that long as stock. So by the time you cut with room to be able to reconnect them, they're just not long enough to reach that Motone loom, or indeed the loom that I produce. So all I've done is soldered a bit of black and white matching cable on there, put some heat sheath on, so I've got some decent length in the wiring. I can then cut that back to whatever length I need. If you're using aftermarket indicators, they'll come with probably longer cables. Certainly the Motone ones do, but I like these ones. I'm going to run with them, so I've just had to extend that wiring. Right, time to get the indicators on, and again that's just a case of feeding the wiring through. You'll find that that fits nicely on there, and you've got the hole for the original bolt as they would have been fitted as standard. That goes on there. And then of course, if you want to use the Motone indicators, you've got that little blanking plate that sits over the top that just has the single hole in to mount through the middle. So there you have it, there the indicators on. This will go on when this bolts through, because obviously that's got to fit through, but you can see there's recesses in the side here for those wires to go through. That's just going to cover everything up nice and neat. Really like the way that's been done. So we're ready now to get this part bolted onto the bike. Let's go and do that. Okay, back at the bike, now we've got all this together. It's just a case of bolting it on. I've put the cover underneath, which you can see here. Those 2 holes will be done up when you do these 2 holes up here. It is just a case of bolting that on under here. But first you've got to get that little extra tray in at the back, so I'll just put that in place before I put the bolts through, and then we're good to go. Now, I don't really need to show you in any great detail this. It is quite self-evident. You just push those 4 bolts through. The trickiest part is getting this plate on at the back, which is kind of the little extra mud guard. So just push that in, and then the plate for the tail tidy goes between that bottom plate and the bolt holes there, so you can get that into place. Then of course it's just a case of plugging the loom into the factory connector. You've then got your connector for the tail light, you've got the other connector for the left and right indicator. So I'll get all those put together, get the wires neatened up. So there you can see I've got everything connected together, and it all seems to be working fine. In hindsight though, I think I am going to shorten these cables. I was just going to sort of fold them up and tuck them up and zip tie them out of the way, but all that seems to do is just take up some of this valuable space. So I'm going to cut these back down, re-crimp the ends on, including the tail light, shorten that all up, make it a lot neater. Okay, seats back on. I put the stock seat on just so you can see how it looks. It'll work perfectly well with the flat bench seat as well. Get the ignition, there's your tail light, nice bright LED, there's your right indicator and the left indicator. And that is as difficult as it is. If you've fitted a tail tidy before, or you've seen any of the other videos online, it's no more difficult than that. You can see it's pretty straightforward. The most difficult part you're going to find is if you're using the stock indicators, you will have to extend those or make a connection piece for the loom. I think it looks fantastic. It fits really well. It's really well constructed. I would say, and I'm not being paid to say this, for me, of what I've seen, this is probably the best street twin tail tidy on the marketplace at the moment. As I alluded to at the beginning, I'm kind of getting to the point where I've done as much to the Street Twin as I want to do, so I'm not entirely sure how many more videos there will be coming through. I've got the Continental tyres to go on there, so the bike at the moment is sat in front of me here with no wheels on. They've gone off to my local tyre fitter to have the Road Attack 3s fitted, so I'll give you an update when they come back. There's a couple of other little bits and pieces that I may do. That of course could mean a slowdown on the amount of videos that come through with Street Twin content on, and I know that's what a lot of people tune into the channel to pick up on. That's where the vast majority of my subscribers come from, and I thank you for your support again. That doesn't mean that that's going to end. There's going to be some more stuff, and there'll always be some new stuff coming through to the marketplace, I guess. I've kind of got my eyes on another bike as well. I do love the Street Twin, but I'd really like to have a go at doing some bits and pieces on a Thruxton. I've got the bobber from Triumph still. It hasn't gone back yet. Hopefully they've forgotten about it, but I doubt it. And I was hoping to do some bits and pieces on that, but that hasn't quite worked out how we wanted it to. So let's watch this space. Let's see what's going. But anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. Take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Yeah.